evening, everyone, and a warm welcome at TLR Connect and a warm namaste from India. I am Sneha Daragshetti, your host for the day, a soft skill trainer and a YouTuber. So today we are here at the show that is What is Your Money Karma? Before I introduce to you all our speaker for the day, let me give you a short introduction of TLR Now. TLR Now is a niche coaching, training, and consulting company based out of in India, having its chapters at Middle East, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka. It's a private limited company wherein they bring about more than 900 man years of experience on table with more than 80 plus people across geographies who bring about these experience. So today, our guest of the day is Kavita Bothra. Now, she is a co-founder of Primassure. Hi. She is a co-founder of the Primassure Wealth Advisory, which is based out in Navi Mumbai. Now, Primassure basically believes in catering to the emerging H&I segments. Now, they believe and they majorly work with the doctors, the business people, and women. Now, Kavita has been born and brought up in Bombay, and she's been into this industry for more than 2 decades. She believes in developing a client-first relationship approach. Good evening, Kavita, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Good evening, Sneha, and it's lovely to be here with you. Looking forward for this lovely session.
Same here. Another interesting fact that I would like to tell our viewers before we actually dive into knowing what is investment all about, Kavita's daughter has recently joined her, in this. So I am very curious to know, so how is the relationship between, a mother and a daughter at the workplace? So is it the same thing that happens at your house, or, it's different? How are you handling that?
Now that's a really difficult question to answer. that too in open. Let me tell you, initially before my daughter joined me, she was working with Ernst and Young. And when she agreed to join me, I was very happy because she brought to the organization a lot of systems. And we do have that riffraff, but every time she reminds me, Mom, I'm doing something, which is going to be good for the company. If you don't like it, first let me try it out, and then if it doesn't work, I'll change. Having said that, yes, there have been a good amount of changes in the organization, and to be very honest, I'm really very happy with she joining me.
Great. That's great to hear, because I was very curious to know, how the relationship is working at, the professional front. Going forward, welcome to our viewers. And once again, if you have any queries related to investment plans or anything that you want to know more while Kavita is with us for the next 1 hour, please feel free to write all your queries, your questions in the comment section on whichever platform you are, and I will take it up directly with Kavita. So Kavita, here's my first question to start with the basic one. What are the do's and don'ts when it comes to financial planning? So let's first take what are the do's of a financial planning?
When we talk of financial planning, there are certain things which we must do. First of all, we have to understand what is investing. So I'll keep it very, very simple. Investing is like losing weight. To lose weight, you have to exercise more. We need to eat less, and we need to eat right. Similarly, when we are investing, we need, or when we want to become wealthy, we need to save more, spend less, and invest right. So although it sounds very simple, it is not easy. We all know that eating salads are good for health, but how often do we end up eating a salad? Or we all know that going for a daily walk is very important, but are we really putting that for our health? So although it's very easy to create wealth, the reason why people are not able to create wealth is simply because they make their easy life very, very difficult. So now, having said that, you asked me what are the do's and don'ts. So I'll just explain it in a very simple concept. especially when you ask me what are the do's and don'ts for financial planning. So people have to understand what is risk and what is return. The romance of risk and return go hand in hand like this. So, for example, it all depends on the individual's appetite to take risk. Jitna aap risk loge, the amount of risk you can take, it'll reward you in terms of the return. The second most important thing is that you do not put all your money in one basket. You have to put it in different baskets. Putting of money in different baskets is called as asset allocation. You have to put it in different basket because every asset has a cycle. We've all understood that the market right now is down, and at some point in time the market is up. At some point in time gold is up. So every asset has a cycle, and therefore in your different buckets of investment you should have a little spread across. That is also very important. The third thing is educating yourself or understanding the history of investments. People always panic. People are not sure where to invest. I always tell people, learn about investing, because it is your money you're going to invest. So once you understand the history of investments, even if I take a short history right from 1990s to now, we have had a lot of things and upheavals in the market. So understand, learn from history. There is never a situation which is going to be continuous. There's always an up and down. So once you understand history, you will also be able to understand an investment pattern. And the fourth thing is understanding your own psychology, understanding your own risk, and understanding who you're working with, whether your advisor or the person who you are working with has skin in the game. So these are the things one should look at when you are looking at do's and don'ts of your own personal finance. And coming to the current situation, if one wants to understand, what are the do's and don'ts considering the current situation, I would suggest that you must assess your situation. We look at all the do's first. We assess our situation and see where we are. We try and pay, if we have any loans, we try and pay our loans, our EMIs. If our financial situation allows us, we pay our debts. In case we have a business, we must see the government in the recent, as when COVID struck, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Finance Minister came up with the bankers going to be providing us a lot of loans. So if you are an entrepreneur, see if your business is eligible for a loan, and if your business, if it needs loans, take that loan. Ensure that your business keeps thriving. The other do is cut unnecessary spending. It is very important in such times to ensure that we do not have unnecessary spending. It is always very, very thrilling and attractive, to swipe a card on Myntra, or to call food from outside very often. But if that spending is not required, try and cut your unnecessary spending. Do increase your health insurance. This situation has taught us health is so important, and the amount of money we are spending in hospitals. So please increase your health insurance, and also take care of your well-being. So these are some of the do's I would recommend highly.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting us know what are the do's. Now that we've understood the do's, now tell us what are the don'ts that we must follow when it comes to financial planning.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take it from the current situation now, since I was focusing on the do's also. So for the current situation, there are a few don'ts. That is, do not dip into your retirement fund. Your retirement fund could be your provident fund. It could be your mutual funds kept aside. It could be your gratuity funds. Please do not dip into these funds and use this money unless it would be wiser to borrow a little money and use it now, but do not dip into your savings. We are going to have a long life. We have to ensure that the money lasts. So that is one don't. The second don't is, all of us have insurance policies. Please do not stop pay. You continue to pay your premiums. Do not stop paying your premiums. So please pay your premiums. It's extremely important. The third thing is, do not panic. These situations are not going to last. If the market has come down, it is not going to last. Everything which comes down will go up. So do not panic. Do not listen to what your friends or neighbors are telling you about your finances. You have an advisor. The advisor is there for your well-being. And your financial situation is different from your neighbor or from your friend's financial situation. So do not listen or look at what others are doing and try to copy. So this is regarding the current situation. And more or less, even when it comes to financial planning, the don'ts are such that you do not listen to other well-wishers. Well-wishers are always there to wish you well, but they are thinking on from their financial perspective. It may not match yours. So please have an advisor to guide you. Do not panic whenever the market situations change, and spread your money into different asset classes. So don't put it only into one. People sometimes are not able to take risk of the market, and therefore they put all their money in fixed deposits, or they put all their money in one basket. That is not recommended. So please spread your investments. So these are the don'ts, Sneha.
Thank you so much, Kavita, for letting us know the do's and don'ts. And now, because there was one interesting point that you spoke about the don'ts, that, do not do anything to your retirement fund. So my next question is very interesting in the sense, because I'm going to ask you in a different way. That is, how to mess up with your retirement planning.
Okay. Yes, I'll tell you how people actually mess up their retirement planning.
Okay.
The first thing is by not taking into account inflation. I'll give you a very classic example. I have a couple of clients earlier on who had bought some policy which was paying a great rate of return. It was a guaranteed rate of return, and they believe that when that policy matures after 20 years, it is going to be enough for them to take care of their retirement. Banks in the year 2000 were paying an interest rate of say 14%, 15%. Okay. Today, although the banks are paying 4%, our lifestyles, the lifestyle we live, are all at 10 and 12%. See, we all go for movies, we all go for shopping, we all do impulsive shopping. All that is, we are spending at 10 and 12% inflation. But if your investments are going to fetch you only 5 and 6%, understand that it is not going to be able to provide you enough for your entire retirement. So one of the mess which people do is don't plan for inflation. Okay. So it is extremely important to understand inflation. Also, as I said earlier, put your money in different baskets so that you have some safety. Ideally, I always tell people have 3-4 baskets where your retirement fund is considered. Whatever is required in the first 2-3 years could be a part of your fixed deposits. Whatever is required, say from the year 4th onwards to the 6th, 7th year, could be in another basket. And only whatever is required after 8 or 9 years could be a part of your equity portfolio, equity mutual fund. So that even if there is an up and down in the market, it does not affect the money what you require in the next 5 years. So this
Right.
is like how not to mess up your retirement, so that you are inflation proofing it, and you are also ensuring that you are not affected in case the market goes up and down, or for a very sad case where a lot of money was in banks which
Hmm.
were locked up, because of certain issues in the bank. We had the PMC bank. So ideally, spread your money so that you are not at risk. So these are the things which you should do to not mess up your retirement.
Okay, great.
Over to you,
Thank you.
Sneha.
Thank you so much, Kavita. So now we know retirement planning is like a no. It's like do not touch it, whatever the situation is.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you. Now you've mentioned about risk, stating a very strong statement that you should take risk, right? If there is no risk, like when we say like there is no pain, no gain. So I certainly understand you're saying if there is no risk, there is no much gain, right? So my
Correct.
next question is like, what is this risk and where does it exist?
Okay. So, we always talk about risk. Risk. Risk is basically a little bit of the unknown, right?
Hmm, hmm,
Why do you say there is risk? We say
hmm,
risk is when there is an unknown factor. I tell my clients that, even if the market goes up and down, you know
hmm,
that the market is going to go up and down. So, is that actually a risk? Or we know that over time inflation
hmm,
is going to be there. So is that actually a risk? The actual risk, I tell my clients, is always inside us, inside you. If we
okay.
overestimate, so typically investors or people, we overestimate
Hmm,
any asset. We understand, we think that, oh, I understand, the markets could go up and down, or I
hmm,
understand, that there is inflation. But what
hmm,
happens is, although we understand that aspect,
hmm,
we behave differently when such an aspect hits us. So the
hmm,
actual risk is inside of us, and therefore it is very important to understand yourself. So when I
hmm,
talk about risk, I also talk about behavior, and therefore it's
hmm,
very important to understand that the risk is not so much as in the kind of investments we do, but in what
hmm.
kind of an investor we are. So we have to understand the risk what we are able to take. So largely, I think the risk exists inside us, and we have to understand our psychology or our mental makeup.
Hmm.
That will give us an idea of how we would be in our investment journey.
Great,
So
great.
that's
Thank you,
yes,
Kavita.
Neha.
I mean, the risk factor, the way you've elaborated or the way you've mentioned is, so beautiful, wherein we often see that risk is not in, the products that we are buying in case of financial planning, but somewhere the risk is, as you said, like, it's within us, whether, how do we look at it? So, I'm going to
Yes.
ask you a straight question on one of the product, okay, as a financial planning that you are doing. But before that, let me also tell audiences that please stay tuned till the end of the session because I am going to personally ask Kavita to share some tip that would be benefit, maybe for me and for everyone also. So, Kavita is going to be with us. So please again feel free to write all your comments or any queries that you have in the comment section below. So Kavita, the next question regarding the product that you actually sell is the mutual fund. So how often should one keep changing in mutual fund? Because looking at the current trend and when the circumstances is so uncertain, so as a human, it's a tendency to panic or to realize, oh, I invested in this and it is not giving me much returns. So let me now, shift to something else. So, how often should one change when it comes to mutual funds?
Okay, so basically, mutual fund is a tool of
Hmm.
investment, like a fixed deposit is, or a
Hmm.
gold is, or property is. It's
Hmm.
one tool.
Hmm.
Why I personally recommend mutual funds is because it is a financial asset. If ever you need money, you want to, it is easily, you can sell and the money is in your hands, within a week's
Okay.
time. So one of the assets which we recommend is mutual funds. Now, a good question which you asked is, how often should one change mutual funds? As long as your fund is doing well, you should not be changing. Some over the past so many years, and maybe last 2.5 decades, we've seen that mutual funds have given anywhere between, some of them have given 20%, 25%, 30% returns also. But you should not be chasing returns. You have to just focus on your goals. If your goal requires that, your portfolio or your entire basket give you, say, an 11 or a 12% return, and it will suffice for your entire retirement, then you should be focused on getting that kind of return and not chasing 18%, 17%. Because there is, as I said, there is a reward to every risk you take. There could be a stock which, say, people say has given me 900% return, but the risk or the downside is it may fall by 900% also. So coming back to your question of how often we should be changing our mutual funds, we have to remember that every time we change a mutual fund, it does cost the investor. What should be the game is, in case the fund is not performing, ask your advisor, understand, because the advisor is in touch with the fund house, with the fund manager. He or she would be able to understand the calls the fund manager is taking. And after that, in spite of all this also, if the fund is not performing, then yes, you have every right to change that fund. But understand why you have gone for that fund, and only if that particular goal is not being met by that fund, change it. Because it is very easy to think that, hey, look, this fund has given me that, or that fund is giving a 12% return or a 15% return, but my fund is giving 10%. But your advisor, understanding your goals, has given you a safer fund because he or she feels that this will help you reach that goal. So I always advise people, change your fund, or get your advisor to guide you only and only if it is required. Do not chase returns. So that is my advice. Otherwise what happens is, people end up, when selling when the market is low, and they end up when buying when the market is high, and invariably the investor loses out whatever profit he or she has made. So it's imperative that we look at what my goal is, and then check out, how the fund is performing and whether it is able to meet the goals. So that's it from me, Sneha.
So basically, it's about, understanding your own portfolio or your own goals, and then taking up where you can invest, rather than going around and saying that, Are, he has invested in this or she has invested in this, let me also do that.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely. Do not look at what my neighbor is doing or my friend is doing. I often tell people that they are pursuing their goals. Let's not look
Right.
at what they have. My risk is different. My requirement is different. Let me focus on what I want.
Absolutely right. So going forward, Kavita, so how should one cope with this investment, with the market volatility and the loss that comes with it? I mean, we cannot
So,
deny that, right? There will be highs, there will be lows, there will be gain, there will be some losses. But when it is more, or how do we cope with it?
so rightly said. See, with risk comes reward, and
Yes.
there also comes, losing some money is inevitable. Is an inevitable part of investing.
Okay.
As so we can only try to prevent it and reduce it. So if one is an intelligent investor, we must take responsibility as an investor to understand. Whenever we as advisors also, in case we are changing a fund or whatever the reason, we make it a point to educate our investor why we are doing this, and in the event if we need to cut losses, in case sometimes it's not performing and we need to cope with that, the investor may be hit with some loss. Yes, it is inevitable, and the investor has to understand why he or she needs to bear that small short term loss for a longer or a larger gain. So it is inevitable. You just need to understand. And again, keep learning. I always tell investors that you must educate yourself also. So keep learning. Keep learning about investing. It's your money which you are investing. You must understand where and the why of your investments.
Okay.
So,
So keep
yeah.
learning in the sense that gain more information, or keep reading. Are there some particular sites or magazines or anything that you want to give to our audience so that they know? Like when you say keep learning about that product, so where should we go and get the complete proper information about that product?
So today, apart from Mr. Google,
Okay.
there are a lot of investor education and investor awareness programs which are
Okay.
taken care by. There is a body called as AMFI, which is the Association of Mutual Funds of India. It's a government regulated body,
Okay.
and they are so nowadays we see a lot of advertisements on television saying mutual fund sahi hai, and different aspects of mutual fund investments. So the government, and apart from that, it has directed, AMFI has directed mutual fund houses also to do a lot of investor awareness programs. So these are there. There are a lot of books available, and one thing which I like to tell is it is necessary for the advisor to even educate his investor. It should not be a simple thing that, sir, I am investing your money here. No. It is important that you educate your investor on why we are doing something, on why we are investing in a particular fund, and make him or her understand the risk associated. See, tomorrow it should not happen that you had invested in the like, for example, we've invested in the markets now, and if the markets have tanked by 30%, suddenly the investor finds his portfolio down by 30%. If he had invested, say, a lakh of rupees, he may find that his portfolio is down to 75,000, and he or she may start panicking. Therefore, it is necessary to also educate your investor. So it is the advisor's duty also to educate, and it is the investor himself also who should try and learn from the advisor, from the sites. There is an abundance of information available today on Google. There are some amazing books available, and one book which I would like to recommend here is, which everybody should, or rather two books which everybody should read. One is The Richest Man in Babylon, and one is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. These are two books which you should read, because it helps you understand why we should invest, why we should remain invested, and if we really want to make it good in our life, what are the things we should be doing.
Great. Thank you so much, Kavita. So, viewers, there are two books, as rightly mentioned by Kavita. One is The Richest Man in Bangalore, and the second is The Rich Man and the Poor Man.
Babylon, The Richest Man of Babylon.
Babylon. Okay, because I've been curious. I was like, oh, it's an Indian person, like where it's happening just around the corner. Okay, so viewers, let me correct it. It's the richest person in the Babylon. So going forward, Kavita, and I want to understand as an investor, okay, who are the usual advisors?
Come again?
So as an investor, who are my usual
Right.
advisors around me?
Okay. So typically, if you're an investor, we have a lot of you will have a lot of people advising you, right?
Okay,
The first and
absolutely.
foremost is Google,
Okay.
right? Then you'll have your newspapers telling you which is the best fund, or
Hmm.
you will have your neighbors, your friends, everybody coming to you and telling you where you should park your money.
Hmm.
And I often tell my clients, when they come and tell me, should I not do this fund? You're recommending this fund. Should I not do that? Or should I not buy something like this? And I ask them, where have they got that advice? And, they may say that the
Hmm.
newspaper had come up with these funds, whatever. I
Hmm.
ask
Hmm.
them this, that in case they have a tooth pain, or in case
Hmm.
their wife is going to deliver a baby, will they
Hmm.
go to Google? Will they
Hmm.
go to the neighbors? No, they will go to a specialist. They will either go to the dentist with the toothache, or they will go to the gynac. We have to understand that as our health is so important that we look out for a specialist,
Hmm.
money, which is the root cause of most of the stress, people believe is so easy that you can, ask everybody and invest. Uh,
Right.
it isn't so. Get yourself an advisor and start early. Trust
Hmm.
me, people who have begun early and have stuck to an advisor have found that the difference they say over a period of 15 to 20 years, if you
Hmm.
compare two scenarios, one a person who keeps taking advice from a lot of people, and one
Hmm.
who has stuck with an advisor, the
Hmm.
returns, the difference in return is 4 times. So
Okay.
if you look at somebody making a crore in 20 years, imagine that somebody with an advisor will be making 4 crores. Now
Hmm.
that's a great difference. So it's
Absolutely.
important that you look at a specialist. Your money should be important for you, and therefore you should look at a specialist. I
Okay.
also would like to tell you here that very often, we all come with certain biases.
Hmm.
We always have, certain good well wishers, because, for example, let us say our parents. Our
Hmm.
parents have worked in a certain way. Our parents
Hmm.
have invested in a certain way, and
Hmm.
therefore, when we start earning, our
Hmm.
parents tell, or we may, either because of lack of time, or
Hmm.
for as soon as there's money in the bank, we have
Hmm.
our parents guiding us that, hey, look, put your money in the fixed deposit, or hey,
Hmm.
look, go and buy a policy, or hey, look,
Hmm.
go and do this.
Right.
It's all very good, but
Hmm.
what worked for them may not work for us. Understand
Okay.
that we are also moving towards the Western culture where we are now learning to spend before we earn.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
our parents were of a different generation. They used to
Hmm.
save, and at the end of it, spend only what was left. So that
Right.
worked for them, may not work for us. So it's
Hmm.
important that you understand what your own goals are, and then
Hmm.
plan your investments in such a way that you are able to reach your goals.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So even when you were sharing this, so I could relate. At times it happens that for example, family, the influence is too much on us, because money is something that I would think 10 times before I go and speak out to someone or ask for an advice. So I always feel very comfortable, talking to my parents, or if I have an elder brother or a sister or someone who's elder to me who have doing this. So it, as you rightly said, it might happen
absolutely
that my parents feel very comfortable saying that the risk factor over here, I think, would play matter here, wherein they would say that you, okay, you have so much money, okay, why don't you go and do a FD, that is a fixed deposit, wherein probably,
correct.
so even I blindly believe that, oh yes, let's do it, there's no harm in that. But maybe tomorrow when I speak to an advisor, if I come across an advisor, he might suggest me some other, the baskets. It could be a mutual fund, or it could be into liquidity. It could be anything. So I guess
Absolutely.
I can certainly understand how that influence plays a role, to our investment plans or for our goals.
Absolutely. In fact, this is called as the inherited bias. There is a word for it in behavioral finance. They say
Okay.
that this is the inherited bias because we have inherited certain things from our parents. For
Okay.
example, we've always heard, don't buy a second-hand car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
often when we have grown up, our parents have always told us, you should always buy a new car, and we've
Mm-hmm.
also grown up with that thought process. But if you look at it today,
Mm-hmm.
we have great cars which,
Mm-hmm.
although second hand, are hardly used and give us great mileage and great value for money. So again, what worked for them need not work for us today. The other inherited bias is, don't pay rent, buy a house. You know? Whereas today, a lot of young crowd who are flitting from one city to the other for jobs do not know that at their age of 50, where they would be staying. So I often advise them that keep investing, let your money grow. At the age of 50, 55, whenever you decide to settle down in one city, that is the time you can actually use this money to buy. So some of the biases which were there earlier and which worked for them may not work for us. So this is one of those inherited biases. Yes, Neha, over to you.
Technical
I think we
glitch.
have lost Sneha.
Can you hear me now? Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Neha.
Okay,
Yes,
I am
yes,
so
we can.
sorry I had gone because there was some technical glitch because of the internet, but I'm back here now. So great. I'm sure
Great.
the viewers have now understood what you were talking about, the biases. Now, since you mentioned the two biases, one was the inherited bias and the other one as well. So I would like to know what kind of biases one has. So if you can share more
Okay.
on that.
So sure. So as I said, inherited biases. One was, don't buy used cars, where we say
Yeah.
buy a house, don't rent.
Hmm.
One of the other one was also prepay your home loan.
Okay.
Don't let your loan continue for long, and one must parents who have been part of the mutual or rather the stock market have always
Hmm.
said, invest heavily in stocks. So as far
Hmm.
as the last two go, we
Hmm.
do sometimes recommend, depending on what the rate of interest is or how the markets are performing, we do often tell our clients to sometimes prepay the loan, or
Hmm.
yes, be inclined towards the market for the wherever you are going to require money after the long term. So this is called as the inherited bias. Now
Hmm.
one more bias is the overconfidence bias.
Okay.
uh, we all know what is overconfidence. It is that unwarranted faith we have in our own intuitive reasoning
Hmm.
capabilities, and we believe that over the years I have learned enough. My judgment is good and I can't go wrong. These are the
Hmm.
kind of overconfidence biases we have, and sometimes it impairs our ability to think. I'll
Hmm.
give you a classic example. We
Okay.
all know that
Hmm.
drinking and driving is not safe,
Right.
right?
Yes.
But yet, people can go on drinking and
Hmm.
yet feel it's okay because I still can drive. Now they
Yeah.
may get behind the wheel even after they've had too much to drink. Now
Hmm.
if and they say, I'm okay, I can handle that. Now this is also a classic example of overconfidence bias. Similarly, when we look at investments, okay,
Hmm.
or particularly, to give you an example, let us say there are people who invest or buy stocks, in the market, in the stock exchange. They buy stocks, and in case they are not making money, the wisest thing would be to cut your loss. If you feel that, see, what happens is, many times, often people invest in let's say, junk bonds or penny stocks, or stocks which are of lower value, thinking that they will be able to make a multi-bagger of this, or it will give them returns of huge percentage. Now, that is an overconfidence bias. These are very, very few rare stocks, which could happen. Otherwise, history says that is not the case, and therefore, the customer, when he's bought such a stock, and if he is not making money on it, he will still not sell that, for the sole reason that he says, no, I've done my homework, I can't be wrong, and he goes on making a loss. Sometimes what he does is, when it comes down, he tries and buys some more of it, so that he thinks, I'll average out my cost price. That's again, an overconfidence bias, which I tell people. The third kind of a bias is, something called as a loss aversion bias, as in, the most invest. So, we say the known devil is better than the unknown devil. So very often what happens is, to avoid losses, as I mentioned earlier, people will go on sitting with their losing investments. Okay. And this is one of the worst strategies, because holding on to investments that can be harmful to your portfolio is one of the wrong things to do. And effective solution is, you should ask yourself, if I had more money, or if I had fresh money, and if I had to buy a stock, would I buy this stock? Okay? Would I be investing in this? That will help you understand whether the stock you're holding is either a losing proposition or not. Then another bias is something called as the status quo bias. I don't want to change anything. I like the way I am. That's again an emotional bias, and people, although they are faced with some choices, they don't want to take it because of the fear of not trying to learn. A classic example, let us say, when people, this was again a tested case, people suffering from asthma and used to a certain spray. Okay, when they were told that, hey, look, you can try out this spray, it could probably reduce your pain or your breathing or wheeziness a little better. Would you like to try it out? You will be surprised that lots of people have not tried it out. Why? Because they say, the one which I'm working, it's okay. I know that it may not completely cure me. It's still doing the job. I'm okay with it. Whereas, so you understand, people are not willing to change. So that is called as a status quo bias. One more is recency bias.
Okay.
Recency is whatever is my current state. For example, markets are down right now.
Right.
It's the investor feels it's the end of the world. The markets are never going to come up again, and therefore I will not invest anything in the market. Or look at it the other way. The markets are going up. The investor starts feeling, wow, the markets are always going to go up and up. So whatever is the recent state, the investor starts believing that this is going to continue. Now, this recency effect is actually very dangerous, because customers, and not only customers, it's human behavior. I'll tell you, if sometimes my daughter throws a tantrum, okay, I tell her, God, I don't know, if you're going to become, are you going to behave like this even when you, are on your own? although I know she'll be she'll be mature and she'll turn out reasonably well, but the reasoning tantrum is affecting me. So it's human nature, and you have to understand that this status is not going to last, but this is a bias. So these are the few biases which people are affected with. And therefore, if you have an advisor, what happens is, he or she is dispassionate about the market. He or she is focused on what you need. And therefore, uh, she will be working towards helping you achieve your goals. So all these biases, you are educated on your biases, and you are in a much better position to understand yourself and understand, as I mentioned earlier, the risk of your own behavior. So over to you, Sneha.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, in fact, talking about biases, because most often we forget that we are operating from that bias mode. We always feel that, whatever is happening, it's fine. This is how I am doing it. But often, I guess, the way you've stated the different types, I mean, for some of us, it would be reflective mode, wherein we have to now think and check, like, what, when it comes to investing, what, from which bias mode am I operating?
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
So for viewers who have joined us late or have missed or still thinking about what to ask Kavita, or should I write, should I not write? So feel free, Kavita, to write it to Kavita regarding any doubts or any queries or anything more that you want to know regarding the investment planning. So Kavita, now I want to know, what is the information risk that comes in investing?
Okay. Uh, today we have an overload of information everywhere. Okay.
Yes.
Too much of information, and very often we get lost in this entire gamut of information we have. But what I would like to tell our listeners here is, remember one thing, that you need to focus on where you want to go. I'll give a very simple example.
Okay.
Let's say if you want to go from Bombay to Pune,
Okay.
what do? We open a Google map. Now,
Right.
when you open the Google map, you get the entire world in front of you. But it
Right.
still asks you, what is your destination? So you put
Hmm.
in Pune. What is your
Right.
starting point? You put in Mumbai. And
Right.
then you ask Google, and it gives you 2 to 3 best options. And it also suggests, or it recommends, the best option for you.
Right.
So what Google does is, it tells you, cut out all that other information, just focus on your route,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When
Right.
so that is exactly what we as investors also need to do. There is too much of information,
Hmm.
which is like a risk for you.
Hmm.
You need to focus on where you want to go. I'll tell you one. You should know. I often tell people, what is it that you want to achieve.
Hmm.
Understand your own goals. I'll
Hmm.
just relate a very small story, if you permit, Sneha.
Of course,
Let us.
Kavita, we all would love to know and relate to it.
Okay, so there were 10 lazy workers, and
Okay.
in fact, they were given a task to dig,
Hmm.
and
Right.
dig some pits, and
Okay.
they started digging. And and every morning they would start digging, and end of the day they would stop again. Next day morning they would start digging. After a few days, they got very irritated because they didn't know what they were searching for. And
Hmm.
after the 10th day, they said, "Hey, look, I want to give up." One of them said. So that
Hmm.
time, the ringleader, or the guy who was managing these people, said, "You know what? We are digging this because we want to find a broken pipe which will help, which connects to your quarters, so that you will have enough of a water supply." And then all these people were
Hmm.
recharged and started digging. What I'm
Hmm.
trying to tell you here is that if you know where you want to go, if you have a goal in your mind, it will become easier for you also to start working. That's why it's very important to have focus.
Hmm.
Like the mythological story of Dronacharya and Arjun, where nobody else was allowed to hit the fish's eye except Arjun, because he was the only guy who was focusing on that. You as an investor need to focus on what you want to achieve. Do not chase return. Focus on what you want to achieve, and trust me, if you focus on what you want to achieve, apart from what they say that the universe conspires to help you reach that, but your advisor will also conspire to help you reach that goal.
Absolutely, Kavita. Sorry. Thank you so much on that. We have a question from our audience, and that has been stated by Ankur Varmani, wherein he's asking Kavita how to bring about investment or financial planning in teenagers, how to inculcate this in them as a habit. Now, this question I'm sure is just not from Ankur. It could be a lot of parents who would be struggling to make their kids or children understand why investment is important right from the teenager phase. So would you please share your thoughts on that?
Sure. Thank you, Ankur, for the question. It's a great question, and I just like to share that this is one mission I have, where I also attend a lot of colleges to give lectures, for students, the teenagers, and the so it's a wonderful topic, because I find that the thought process for them today is very different. But what, as parents or as their advisors, or as people who they look up to, we can tell them a few things, that very often our children today are always comparing themselves with their peers, as to that is the kind of car they have, that is the kind of clothes they wear, or that is the kind of gym they go to. We have to tell them that this race is very long, and in the end it should only be with yourself. How are we improving? And once we start understanding that, so as I said earlier, it's important for us as parents to help them understand what they want to do and where they want to reach. And once we tell them, or we help them understand that, they will become wiser in understanding that they have to become better. And when we talk about being better, it not only means as a person in terms of education only, but that is one area which I tell a lot of youngsters, that apart from all the money you invest in, keep a small part or keep a small portion of that as a separate kitty, to ensure that you are continuously learning. It is important, as when you want to grow in your life career, in your professional career, if you keep educating yourself, it will become easier for you to become better in your financial journey also. And therefore, keep a small portion to constantly upgrade your knowledge, to constantly learn, to become better in your career. See, life is very, very unpredictable. So I often tell young children that it is important to also have something called as an emergency fund. Okay. They would have all heard about the Jet Airways crisis, and so many people lost their jobs. So many people had to take pay cuts. Okay. If you keep your life simple, okay, then if there is a pay cut, it would affect you less. So try to understand what you want out of life. Okay, life is very, very unpredictable. All surprises are not always pleasant, and therefore it's important to understand and look at life closely. The third thing, as I said, is invest in yourself. And Mr. Ankur, what I would like you to tell your children also, that they are very, very young now, and for them it's a long game. So if they start early, I would love it if you. There is this very, very lovely story, which I'm sure many of us have heard. That there was a beggar, or I would say, sorry, there was a farmer and a king. And the king called the farmer one day because the farmer was not paying his taxes. So the farmer asked the king, what are you doing for us? So the king asked him, what do you want from me? So the farmer said, okay, he ensured that there is the chessboard. Okay, so he had a chessboard drawn on the field, and he said, for every checkbox, I'll give you one gold coin. So you will get 64 gold coins. And for every checkbox, on the first day, you give me 1 grain of rice. On the second day, you double it up. On the third day, you double it up. So on the first day, I get 1. The second day, I get 2. The third day, I get 4. Then 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 512, 1028. Just keep doubling. And he said, rice grains. Okay. So the king said, is that it? Fine, done. So by the time they reached the 25th day, the farmer had given 25 gold coins to the king. On the 26th and the 27th day, the king did not have enough rice in his storage to give the farmer, because by the end of that period of the month 28th and 29th, it touched 30 tons of rice. Then it doubled up, and can you imagine how much it would happen by the 64th check, the box? Here, the very simple message you need to pass to your children is that here we are talking of the power of compounding. In school, children hate compounding. They love simple interest. But what will work for us in life and in our money is compounding. You have to tell them that when we write the R, which is raised to R or N, many people call it N, that is the number of years. And the longer the number of years you will have, the greater your money or the value of money you will be getting. So they are so young now. Tell them to start early. It could be as low as 500. Tell them next year every month you start doubling it, make it 1,000. So by the time they reach by 23, 24 and they start their job, they would have already created a kitty which they would be very excited about. They will always treasure. And even if they make a lot of money, they will always remember what their father has taught them. So these are the things which I would like to tell, that start early, start small. No amount is very small. And even if you save 500 rupees every month, even for a period of 20 years, you'll end up having a lot of money. So that's it for Mr. Ankur.
Thank you, Kavita. That was a beautiful and a very strong message that you've sent across to all the parents who were there. And Ankur, thank you so much for asking this question to Kavita. Kavita, I have a last question to you. What, a tip rather, I would say, that we want from you, that, where should one invest to make better returns?
This is a question which I generally do not answer. I'll tell you why. So see, there is nothing right or wrong, about where to invest. As I mentioned, that it all depends on what is your goal first. What is the kind of risk you can take? Okay. How well you understand what you are doing. So depending on that, we would be then suggesting. So for example, Sneha, to make it simpler, let's say, for you could be having a retirement goal of, say, 25 years onwards. So you have a long way to retirement, and you wouldn't mind investing, or you should not mind in investing in equity for the long term, because even if the market goes up and down, over a period of time, that volatility is not the risk for you. Okay. So, but let's say somebody who's 60 and 65, they may not be able to take that risk. So me recommending something here would not be right, as in, I'll broadly tell you that if you have a longer horizon, do look at equity mutual funds. It is one of the great ways of investing. If you are in your retirement mode, do look at safety first. And especially when you're looking at today's times, we are amidst very uncertain times, such turbulent waters, and there is definitely a need for the individual to understand that what should my short-term portfolio look like. If I'm looking at the next few years, because right now the economy is also very uncertain with these current situations. So there are, especially for the people who are in their retirement age, there are a lot of options now being offered, which there are short-term funds. There is that senior citizen yojana. There is an
Kavita,
LIC yojana. Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt because when you're
Yeah.
speaking about the senior citizen, we have one interesting question which was put up by one of our viewer, and that is Santosh
Okay.
Lodha. Now, when he's
Okay.
asking that, considering the inflation, what is your advice for seniors, that is 60 plus, people to remain light on assets or high on liquid assets?
Okay, great. So that's a great question, Mr. Loda. And especially, as I mentioned earlier, for senior citizens, it's very, very important to remain in liquid assets, in financial assets. If you need money, it could be for any reason, it could be for health reasons, or it could be for whatever. You will have the money at your disposal. If it is in assets, in real estate assets or hard assets, where it is difficult for you to liquidate, it's going to be a problem. So I always suggest that whatever assets we want to do, you can look at the diversification from your young age till the time you're say 50. We strongly recommend, as you near your retirement, to have most of your assets or 90% of your assets in financial assets, where you are able to then continue. Those assets will start working for you, and you are able to continue to live the lifestyle you are living. You should not have to compromise on your daily lifestyle once you retire, because at one point in time you thought that this was a great investment. So your investment also, that is why when you have an advisor, what typically happens is by the time you reach 50 and 55, he or she would then look at your, see, an advisor should constantly review the client's portfolio, and he or she would then be able to guide whether the client is able to meet his requirement. Let's say, Mr. Loda, if your financial assets are able to sustain your lifestyle, you have no need for additional funds. You can obviously choose to continue to let part of your money remain in assets. But otherwise, my recommendation is to continue living the lifestyle. If you do not have enough liquid assets, ensure that by the time you reach your retirement, most of the assets are transferred to financial assets.
Okay.
So over to you, Sneha.
Thank you, Kavita, and thank you, Santosh, for putting up this question to us. Now that we've just been hearing that, these are the do's, these are the don'ts, and this is how it is. But when we have also put up a strong image of an advisor over here. So when now I opt that, I should now seek for an advisor. So what are the questions that I should be asking an advisor as an investor?
Okay. Okay. So at Primassure, what we do is we do have a certain system which we follow.
Okay.
We and this is also what I would advise all the listeners to also do, is you must ask your advisor as to what type of advisor are you. As in, some people are just distributors, some people are wealth managers, some people are only fee only planners. You must understand what is the kind of advisor you are going to work with. That is first. The second question is, you must ask your advisor how he or she is paid. There should be an absolute transparency in how the advisor is being paid. Okay, whether the client is going to write out a check, whether there is a commission being paid. So whatever it is, there should be absolute clarity on that. Third is you should ask your advisor is what are the type of services your advisor is offering. So, for example, at Primassure, we offer risk planning, we offer financial planning, and we also offer estate planning. That is, service of writing wills. What is the kind of legacy you want to leave behind for your family? So, what are the services we provide? In fact, some of the we've had clients who have asked us that do you have any kind of complaints and what were the results? So you can ask that also, that is there some kind of complaint any advisor had, any client had? How did you tackle it? That is a question. Another question is, uh, what are the kind of clients you work with? So as Sneha, you mentioned earlier, we focus on business owners, doctors, basically consultants, professionals, and women. So you can always ask your advisor that who is your ideal client, who do you work with. Another question is, how long have you been in this business? How long have you been serving or practicing? And you can, to understand whether you are able to understand your advisor's lingo, language, terminology. You can sometimes ask the client the advisor to explain some concept to you. For example, what happens is, typically as advisors, we tend to go into lingo by saying volatility, or we start saying annuities or this and that. So as a client, you must ask. If you do not understand in the first meeting as to what your advisor is talking, stop him, to ask him to explain these words to you. If he or she is able to explain it in a simple manner, that is also. Uh, what is the retirement planning process? Are they are they technologically enabled? As in, do they have technology to assist? Today in COVID times, and we've all seen that people who are not technology enabled have found that the businesses have slowed down. So it's important to, especially going forward, whether we have tools to enable online transactions. So that is also one thing. And you should always ask, what is the team size of your advisor? Whether there is a back-end team going to take care of all the other parts of that. So these are some of the questions which we talk to our new clients when they are onboarded. So that's it from me, Sneha. Over to you.
Thank you, Kavita. Thanks for briefing us that anytime we meet an advisor, these are at least the basic questions that we should ask so that we get the entire clarity of it. And I guess that's how we can now trust them as well.
Yes, trust is very, very important. It's extremely, in India, especially, very often, the advisor is looked upon with a little mistrust. Start trusting your advisor, understand, and you will be, in place.
Okay, great. Before I go, can we take a last quick question from the viewer,
Yeah, sure.
Ankur, where he's in asking that do you advise an online wealth manager deputed from bank's side or from wealth management company? That's an interesting
Uh,
one.
Mr. Ankur, whoever you work with, please ensure that he or she sits with you, works out a financial plan for you, understands your goals and the kind of risk you are willing to take. He or she should chalk out a plan for you. If whoever is doing all this for you, you kindly go with them. Understand, nowadays even banks do have wealth management as one of their verticals.
Yeah. Have we lost Kavita?
But
Hey viewers.
yeah, sorry. Okay, we are back, I think. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely, Kavita.
Okay, so as I was saying, that ensure that the relationship manager, if you are working with a bank, is
Or
remaining with you throughout your financial journey. It should not be that he's trying to pitch you a product.
hmm, I think we have
You know,
lost. Okay.
no. Okay, so
I
that's
guess,
it. Just
yeah,
understand.
Kavita, the
Yeah, just
message was very clearly stated out that
yeah,
whoever it is, he or she should be there with you entire time and should jot on a plan for you.
absolutely,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much, Kavita. It's been a very interesting and insightful session for most of us. And before I let you go, just quickly, what takeaway that you would share with our audiences?
Great. So to all the people listening out there, just remember goals. 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 The G stands for goals. The
Okay.
O stands for opportunity. There is always an opportunity to invest. Always.
Okay.
A stands for asset. You should have money in different assets. As an advisor, I call it asset allocation. But for you as a listener, keep it simple. Assets, multiple assets you should have. So GOAL, learn. Learn about your money, learn about investments, and keep learning to upgrade yourself. And last is S, systematically. Please keep investing. Do not stop your investments. So this is the takeaway for all of you. Focus on goals.
Thank you so much, Kavita. So, for our viewers, goals it is. And Kavita, thank you once again for being such a great guest and sharing all the insights straight to the point with all our viewers. A
Thank
shout
you,
out to
Sneha.
all the audiences. Thank you so much. So, shout out to all the audiences who've been with us for more than 1 hour over here. I would also like to share a famous quote by a famous person, and that is none other than the successful investor, that is Warren Buffett, wherein he says that never depend on a single income. Make investment to create a second source of income. So this
Great.
is what we are bringing at TLR now. Please connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and on YouTube to know what's more happening at TLR now. And there are many more sessions coming up like this. So stay tuned with us. If you have any queries or you want to know more about it, or write it directly to want to know more from Kavita, so please feel free to drop us an email at reachreach@tlrnow.com. This is Sneha signing off, wishing you all a great evening. See you very soon. Till then, take care. Please stay safe. Please stay at home. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you here. Happy investing.